Is that you, Santa Claus? Gifts I'm preparing for some Christmas sharing. Hanging my stocking, I can hear a knocking. Is that you, Santa Claus in the Philippines?
Sure, it's dark out, ain't the slightest spark out.
Avoid that traffic and those barking dogs. Who's there? Who is it stopping for a visit? Is that you, Santa Claus?
Is that you, Santa Claus? Yes, hang in the stocking, I can hear a knocking. Is that you, Santa Claus? Now stop teasing, 'cause I know you're there. Like a girl on a red street, I can see your feet.
Is that you, Santa Claus? Gifts I'm preparing for some Christmas sharing. Hanging my stocking, I can hear a knocking. Is that you, Santa Claus in the Philippines? One peek and I'll try there. Oh, there's an eye there. Is that you, Santa Claus?
Please, pity my knees. Say that's you, Santa Claus. Avoid Red Street and Heidi and George, of course. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Good morning. How is everybody? Looks like I got some of my voice back. So what is going on, everybody? Grab your coffee, grab your beer, your cereal, your snacks, and get ready because today we're going to talk about the Oz. We're going to discuss that sometimes coming to the Philippines to live in retirement is not as put together and as perfect that is being displayed on social media. Okay, the initial dramatic transition, kind of like Dorothy stepping out of a sepia toned house, the magical world of Oz, these things that they put on, the things are just absolutely perfect. So there are things that it in details. There's like, I'm going to go through later, like different things like the shock of sensation, that we're not in Kansas anymore moments, seeking a new yellow brick road. And we're just going to apply all of this towards what's going on in the journey, Filipino time, navigating the bureaucracy, which, by the way, stay out of the protesting. We put something up probably. They announced this through the embassy, I think, more than a week ago. And what's the first thing you see out there? American vloggers and vloggers that are expats out there recording and getting involved. You shouldn't even be displaying. Talking about is barely even viable right now. Okay, so me mentioning it on the side, I'm just going to mention on the side, stay out of some of that bureaucracy unless you're just doing your immigration. And then we'll get into like meeting companions, different characters, you know, like I can put a character just about anything, okay? Like the scarecrow seeking a brain could be indirect communication that you can get with Filipinos. So this will be very interesting, guys. And I want you guys to be involved and actually talk about it. Let's see. Let me see. I put up my trying to still wake up. Hope everybody is woke up. Yeah, that was initially there. I don't know why it actually went away. A shout out to NB being in the house. I think I'm going to go to, yeah, let's do that one because that other one takes up a big section. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, we're actually doing good. The biggest thing is with everything going on with George, and we had already discussed that it's one, hard to get him up, two, when he's actually going to be here. And with the two deaths in the family and him spending time with the family. And for me, I'm actually home most of the time. It's got to be for the pets, for my medical conditions, and because of the weather. I'm still going to continue the live streams, whether he's here or not. He was in the last one and he just wrote something to you guys yesterday. I haven't been through it. He told me he put something up. Oh my God. It's got to be this mic cover. I haven't touched my face all morning. And it's just where it is. No, we're okay. Everything's been really good. As a matter of fact, somehow the death seems to be bringing us closer together. Is where I'm at on this. Like he's been more communicative, communicating more with me than he ever has, and which is surprising. I told you guys that he's not much of a communicator, but I think something shook him to the core with two deaths in the family. And I told him with the death of my mother and grandparents and all that, it wakes you up to a different sense. So yeah. But I'm going to continue the channel no matter what. One, we are officially almost in another 2 days, we're celebrating 5 years of just being on YouTube. And I do it because I like communicating with people. I like to be a little outspoken. I like to get information out there. George, does a lot of the back end work. And he has a gaming channel that he actually works on also. So I like to be able to communicate with people. It's I wouldn't say it's a gift, but I just like to communicate. I look forward to it, and since that I talked about my medical issues on the last thing, it's a motivation when you have so many medical issues wrong. And I don't always get out of the house, and I like to be able to speak with people, and it breaks the monotony. I'm saying it wrong. Of every day dealing with like the pets, the cooking, the cleaning, the basic bills and stuff that I struggle with. It's really nice. So I look forward to it. So that's why I like doing the live streams. And good morning. Oh, you like the thumbnail? Yeah, you did pretty good on that one. That was pretty good. It's darn early. Yeah. If it's going to be me, it's going to be 8 or 9. And I have been up since 4 o'clock. I was having asthma attacks, and I thought it was heartburn, which I really didn't need anything. I thought it was more acid coming up, and it's not. This one was an actual asthma attack. So I just stayed up. So it was for me. Yeah, so I'd start early. So it's either going to be 8 or 9. And I think I'm going to add Sunday. So basically, there may be a fourth live stream. So basically, it'd be Saturday and Sunday Philippines, but I believe it's Friday and Saturday for the US. Hey, Adam. Good morning. Thank you. Yes, guys, be sure to like the live stream. Got it on over here. I'm going to like our own live stream here. Get the algorithm going. Make some comments. Do you think that the Philippines is a lot like being in Oz, a different land? I think it is. I've been to so many countries, been to a lot of states in the United States, and I think this is really a different place. Thank you, Adam. I watched Up and Smoke last night and keep seeing George, right? I hear you. I remember that when I was a kid. My mom had bought the album. She used to like listening to their skits. And if you guys remember, like originally one of their albums, they actually put an oversized rolling paper in one of those. But my mom took us to the drive-in to see those as kids. It was hilarious. Yeah. Good morning. Slick Rick is in the house. Vive. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, the protesting you definitely want to stay out of. We all know that the country has got corruption. Every country has a level of corruption when it comes to even any politicians, let alone some of the builders and this and that, whether they're Filipino or foreign. There's always something going on. You just don't want to get involved because you can lose your immigration. That's the bottom line. But these people feel so effing entitled, so fucking entitled because they're vloggers that they're out there. I'm like, what a fucking idiot. Out there recording, and their asses have been caught. Filipinos are posting their shit like this out there, recording everybody, and they think because they're out there. Someone actually pointed some old dude in his 70s, and they were like, who is this guy? Who does he think he is out there talking shit about the builders and corruption and all going on with a goddamn camera out there? I'm like, sit your ass down, old man. Go to Walking Street. Go get a beer. Go do something. Mind your business on that. Like, what the hell? And it's like all for content. And most of them aren't even monetized. It's mostly because they're narcissistic punks. That's what's going on. Hey, look at me. Look at me. Jiminy crickets. Like George would say, Jiminy crickets. Yes, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. We should be hitting that 25,000 finally. I was watching the Filipina P, and she did that video recently. She ain't kidding. We've been telling you guys that our pay, which was a couple hundred a month, just collapsed in half. So when you guys go and do our like the monthly subscriptions or the stickers and everything, that's the biggest part of our support. Their money for the advertisement, they run a shitload of them, but they don't pay out on that no more. And she was talking about that, and she was talking about how pure her channel was and the scripting thing with AI and how the game has changed. And she does put a lot of hours. We're well aware when we were recording and doing the side recordings and then editing. George would edit all day. I would. It's a lot of time, and not everybody is sponsored. She's turned down her sponsorships. But the biggest deal is they keep unsubscribing a bunch of people, or we lay stagnant for months. There are times with 1,400 videos and a lot of haters and lovers out there, we don't get comments for like 2 days in a row. And it's like, no, that can't be. So we think there's something going on with their system and when they update and everything else. So we feel what she's talking about. We've been talking about this for about a year, that something really flipped, actually probably even closer to 2 years ago. But again, I do it because hey, better than sitting around watching soaps all day and playing with the cats, Because George here lately has been doing a lot of different things, so he's not always here. I'll be doing the same thing in the US, just watching soaps. But yes, please do, because we're close to 25,000. AW, what is going on? Did you see the pictures of Mike Philippine Retirement at the police station? I have no idea. No, usually when we cover somebody, like I think we discussed him as an age gap relationship. It's all we ever meant of it was to bring up what it could cause in a relationship. We don't go back. We are not those other channels that are just going to keep on, going on every single thing. It's interesting. I like a little gossip, but we used to have our feet, both me and George, looking at stuff all the time. Probably when we announced, it's almost been a freaking year. When we announced September, October, November of last year that we were going to slow down, and then we only did a few live streams versus a couple videos and live streams, we just stopped watching all these additional channels for content and stuff. But you guys are either going to watch us or not. We come up with something. George comes up with something, does thumbnails, and we're actually, believe it or not, living a life. Everybody's like, oh, you guys don't go nowhere. You don't do nothing. You don't show nothing. Yeah, we stopped bringing a camera with us everywhere. We stopped going out all the time. We just do an everyday life. So, but no, the answer is no. I have no idea. And I'm trying to figure if this is, I'm just going to respond. How is he filing charges in the Philippines against somebody in Kansas? That wouldn't sound right, anyways. Maybe he's filing something, so there's something on file, but you would still do all that. You would go, it depends on what it is, but I can't imagine unless it's just a thing of record, but you would just hire an attorney and start from there. I don't know that as him. Is he even a 13A card holder or an SRV? I don't know. I mean, is he just renewing? I thought he was just renewing his visa. I couldn't tell you his status or anything else, but either way, I don't see what doing that would do here. Hey, what's going on? Chris is in the house. Good morning. I've been staying inside from the protest unless I need to go out, watch protests on TV. I look wild. They just had it in Angeles City, and we're on the outskirts. So, like, we're about 2 miles, less than 2 miles from the airport, less than probably 2 miles or way less than that from like Marquee Mall, about a mile or so, mile and a half from Walking Street area. So we're like central, but that's why we always say we're in the Angel City area because we're always in those areas, but we're on the outskirts. Yeah, they just had a full thing out there, and then I seen where things like broke loose, where people were destroying stuff, and it just kind of flipped over. They're saying they're paid protesters like they have in the U.S., and so it got a little crazy, you know. And so yeah, and another thing is this freaking weather that's going on right now. There was that bad storm that came through, and it was a very harsh one that ripped through. I believe a tornado touchdown. If I remember, I reposted a few things. That was me reposted on Facebook. George repost and post. It's both of us that post things throughout the social media and answers the comments. And if there gets to be a lot of them, we have one other person that helps us. That just does it. So we have our moderators that have the ability. We have a couple of moderators, but I'm kind of digressing here. But the weather has been nothing but rainy, rainy, rainy. So you lost the small tree. Still no picture of Janet and Mike, although they say they went together. You know what? I think that they're still possibly together. It could be she just doesn't want to be on there. It's kind of like George. In the beginning, initially, I could barely get George to say 2 words. Filipinos tend to be shy, although she always seemed to be there. There's just a flipping point, you know, and it's kind of like George. It's not only because he's spending more time with his grandchild and his daughter and family, and then with the death, and then his uncle, and he says we didn't, you know, this was never meant to be a job, and it isn't, and that, you know, it could just be that she just doesn't. I think that Mike would announce it if it happened. That's just the type of person he is. We have heard from him recently. He sent his condolences, and it seemed to come from both of them. So I don't know. Hey, what's going on? Michael is in the house. And that is true. I want to let you know you made a good point there, being on YouTube, because I was trying to figure the best way to actually put that to people without saying it's basically therapy. It's network, because everybody's like, oh, why don't you go out and go do this? Because I don't want to go out and play darts and drink with a bunch of guys just to network. I'm not going to go out shopping with a bunch of girls like the Dumagetti Wives Club. I'm not going to go out and hang out in a mall. It's not what I would do in the US. But I still like to tell people about my experiences. I like to network and talk with people. Everybody is on social media. It doesn't matter color, race, creed, religion, disabilities, none, whether you can lift your head up. I mean, here in another few hours, I probably crash like I'll get out and take a nap because I'll have little to no energy, like somebody sucked all the blood out of me. It's just my lupus and my other medical conditions. But it still is something that I look forward to, is talking to people, just like I look forward to spending time with the animals. Like when I wake up and get going in the morning, they're all here waiting, and you know, they want their individual attention, and Mary, and I go out and spend time with the animals outside. It's just my regular routine like most people do, and they have. But most definitely. And it gathers information. And then we talk to people through videos and emails and all these other things. We get these emails that are coming in, and it's what we've been doing for 5 years. It's not a job, it is more of a friend network for me. It's just where it is with a person of disabilities. So it's just, I like it. And even if I didn't have a disability, I'd still be doing it. I was awake at 6 due to the neighbors karaoke. Yeah, they don't care about that. That's part of in here about being in the Oz is Filipinos are really different. And I had had a list that I'd found on the internet, and there's a few people that have wrote books discussing Southeast Asians and the issues that they have. And I'm telling you, and speaking to other expats and reading forums and the information that I'm going to talk about today, it seems to be that Filipinos are the nicest people on earth, but they have some sort of naivety or being naive, like childlike. I keep hearing how they're the most jealous people, and I've seen it with my own eyes. So I just won't say it's what I've heard. But there's a jealousy, childishness. There's some sort of, and I really don't care if I offend somebody. Oh, Heidi's talking shit about Filipinos again. So I'm saying what you won't. But it's true. I mean, I've actually seen it, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But the karaokeing at weird hours, it's like there's like zero consideration sometimes. Some of the stuff that I've seen and done, like the trash being thrown on the ground and people peeing and pooping across the street, they'll get off their vehicles and do it right in public. And there's so much going on. The late hours, the weird hours. We have a neighbor that is now officially setting up a full pet place. Like he's selling cats and dogs out of his house. It's a residential thing. And now he's got a gigantic sign and he's selling them. And at all hours, you can hear the animals down there suffering, like literally screaming, crying. And he leaves them outside. It's just, I don't know, it's just bad, but they're always, and that's got to drive the other neighbors crazy, but they're not going to say nothing to him. It probably stinks over there. Thank God he's further up the street and everything, but I will get into that. Good morning. What is going on? Jose is in Makati. What is going on? Yeah, social connections are crucial for survival, reproduction, and well-being. Well, I mean, depending on your age and stuff, I've already done it, been there, and all of this. Yes, you need something. And for me, being I'm very limited at this point, then it's definitely a good thing. So it's a good thing. I mean, I still get out, I still go do my thing. It's just that it'd be the same as I'd be doing in the US, even if I wasn't disabled. I was never a person that was like George likes to be out. George likes to get out and do all these things. And I do probably half the time. I just can't do all of it. I can't be out in the heat all the time, the traffic all the time, the smog. I come in, my nose is clogged up. I'm sicker the next day. I just can't. I can't keep up because of my autoimmune issue. Everything in the sun with my medications make me sick. But yeah, it's just where it is. Hey, what's going on, Black Grandpa? Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, the protest. Cat kept you up. Heidi, I just saw that they're trying to pass a bill so security can access your bank accounts. Maybe it's passed already, none of their business. What difference does my assets have to do? The formula. Oh, you're talking about Social Security? Well, here's the thing already, though. Here in the Philippines, when you have direct deposits, they're going to be all up in that anyways, especially with an international bank now. So they're already watching me. They made me fill out tons of paper, and I don't have one, I don't have a lot of money, and I don't have anything else to hide. George has multiple bank accounts, and so that they actually cannot because they're Filipino banks and something totally different. It's not, attached. But yeah, there's all kinds of things going on. Yeah, I think she's talking about Social Security and banking in the U.S. and but they said they were going to get all the information. At some point, they're wanting to link everything together. I think that's why they're doing the driver's license the way they are, passports. They're trying to get one system where they can get into everything all the time. Our Philippine journey is in the house. Good morning, Mike. He had great footage on his live stream yesterday. I was watching. That's crazy on those protests. So, yeah, I think they did officially call. There was, I think they said it was a tornado also that went through. So, we are your news stations. Forget the TV. All the social media is. I think it's a little excessive time sometimes, but I do like other people's perspective and opinions and all of that. So, it's not a job, it's an adventure. George is a manager or loads of experience. I'd like to ask for help creating an expat party. Yeah, I don't know what you mean by that. He doesn't do parties, organizations, or nothing. And manager, I mean, he ran his own business for a long time and he usually had upper management jobs, yes, but different ones over the years. But his last 12 years was his own company and stuff. He had an office and everything. So, but we haven't been back in the US for like 6 years. So he doesn't even, his interest for the YouTube channel because of all, basically when it got flooded with expat people and all this crap content and YouTube started acting a fool on everything, he just lost interest and he was already doing more things with his family. I was halfway there, and then I'm like, "Oh, well, I think we can skip a live stream." And I'm like, "Nope." So I was like, I do enjoy it. So onward. But no, I love the Philippine. What is going on? AI Coconut is in the house. Thaddeus, what is going on? Pink is for passion. Yellow is for jealousy. That's why we got the yellow. Social Security in the US. Yeah, there's all kinds of things. I wouldn't surprise. None of the transparency when Filipinos move to the US. New York has a huge Filipino population. You don't hear a peep from the neighbors. Once it's dark, they maintain their houses beautifully. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, back to the thing about the Oz for those that missed it in the beginning. Basically, I'm going to kind of go through some different things. And yes, I did write these down because I wanted to think about it. So stay with me. Actually, one of the live streams me and George discussed the other day was we were going to do like the opposite thing. And we're like, oh, what the hell? The P was talking about scripting. Let's write down some things. So today you're going to see me that I wrote things down. You'll be like, what's really going on? Screw it. So because I wanted to get this really straight, what I wanted to say. So the first thing you're going to be going through is like the environment, the shock. Okay, so it's like, what the hell did I step into? So you're going to go from being in the West and you're going to, like me, I went from having basically everything where my credit cards worked all the time and all these beautiful things that I had, and then all of a sudden it was like the opposite. I was threw into something different. And although I had been to countries and we lived in Mexico for 6 months, which prepped me, it was like I flipped into the opposite Oz situation. The shock of sensation, an overwhelming difference in the environment. Like I came from Florida and then went into Mexico after Mexico, but I've been in Florida. It's extremely hot. I was from up north in the United States where there was snow and went to Florida. It's nothing like that. People are like, oh, well, I lived in Florida. I'll be all right. To me, it's way different. It's way, way different. The intense tropical heat and humidity. And then you're dealing with the background noise. Like, it's noisy here. And for me, having ADHD that I talk about and being hyper sensitive to everything, like if something repeats, like I'm part obsessive on things, but if something continues over and over again, like yesterday we had karaoke. There, somebody gave the mic to a kid. It might have been an adult. I could be wrong. The person just kept going, ah, ah, ah. And they were trying to hear themselves. They weren't even singing. They went on like that for 30 minutes. And then they stopped and then they started again. They gave the mic to some 3-year-old. It had to be. Could have been an adult. But it was a repeat of everything. You're going to get that here. It's the constant motorcycles and noise. And now we have tons of roosters and chickens and barking dogs, and you hear the cats fighting outside, but it just seems so loud. It's so extremely loud. But you're going to get the background noise and everything else. And then you're going to the visuals and stuff, how the buildings are and how everything looks super old and the wires hanging, and it's just it's an overwhelming intensity of shock. Like, it doesn't matter how well you're prepared. I didn't come from a super rich area, didn't grow up rich. I didn't come from where everything was immaculate and everything. I came from middle class, and I can deal with used and old and everything else. It was just a shock to the system. Even coming from Mexico, it was still a shock. We were in the mountains of Mexico for 6 months. I've been to the Middle East and Canada and Europe, and it was just a shock. And so you will have to adjust to this. It's going to be hard. I'm 5 years in, and I don't think I've adjusted. I'm just dealing. If something happens and there's a dead animal or there's a dead or sick cat or something, now I'm just so desensitized. That's what goes on. And I think Filipinos go through this also. I think they're desensitized on the situation. Okay. Then you have we're not in Kansas anymore moments. You're just going to be like, yeah, I'm not home. And then you start to compare everything. America, like I used to do that a lot with George, and basically he was going to smack me. I was going to get that bitch. I'm about ready to smack you. Make me a sandwich situation. So what you have is everything will be, well, it's not like that back in America, and why can't they do this like America? So you're just not in Kansas anymore. And how you adjust is going to be harder. You're realizing the daily tasks were more straightforward back home. George bitched the other day that I keep saying everything's manual. He goes, you sound stupid when you say that. I say, George, just sit down somewhere. But basically I said, when I mean manual, it just seems like everything takes forever. Like everything takes all these extra steps or a longer time. Like the bank could take, I don't know, an hour when we go to the bank sometimes. And like we have things that pump our water in our house, but the water still comes up slow. So if I want to fill something up or do dishes where I could have just filled the sink, washed them, drained them, and did all of this, it takes forever to even get through dishes. So it's something is like manual. So manual here, it takes so much time. The approach has to be different. Then you're talking the infrastructure, the bureaucracy, the public services. You're just not in Kansas. Now I have found ways around this, but I would definitely say it takes years to figure that out. And just as you get your shit together, that can be pulled from you, and you got to start figuring things out all over again. So then I'm going to go through seeking the new yellow brick road. Okay. The yellow brick road can represent expats' quest for comfort, stability, integration, navigating through the local systems. It can just, it's seeking the yellow brick road could be they're looking to change their life, whether they come here and get wives, whether they come here because they can't afford the US. Okay. But they're going to run into some things for sure. You're going to be dealing with Filipino time. How about that, guys? The pace of life here in the Philippines totally changes. I'm telling you, if they go any slower, they're going to go in reverse. And I'm a fat girl. I'm a really big girl that people are like, yeah, what is she talking about? No, I can still move. Trust and believe me, I can still move, but it still feels like people are going reverse. I'm gonna tell you, I just, it's so slow here. And if you get something done, it takes forever in stages. I don't know how any of the guys live in places like, example, Sunshine Shoulders, how he lives in a place where it's like he's got to do, and I'm just exaggerating here, trains, planes, and automobiles just to get up out of there, and possibly a few boats. But it takes everything, including getting on a ferry to go somewhere. And I can't see that. I just can't. If I had to be on a ferry island, I'd be done. There's no way. I'm barely tolerating being in the city and everything is here because I keep telling George I want to move out, like near Tarlock, or go out of the main city area. He says, they won't be able to deliver you donuts. They're not going to be able to deliver groceries when I'm not here. Because I told you, he can be gone for a few days at a time. He does go and do, you guys know that he's been on like things where he went out for that other funeral, was it last year? And he does these different things. Well, he's not always here. I have been alone for a few days at a time. So I have to have the conveniences or being around the hospitals and all that. I could not imagine being somewhere where it took multiple things just to get to a doctor's office. And some guys and expats prefer to actually do that. But so then you have the Filipino time. All right. You're going to be, I already talked about the bureaucracy. Getting your visas, documents, business permits is like an endless journey, guys. It's redundant steps. It changes with each person, each office. There is no consistency. I initially, on my 13A, which now I'm a permanent resident, we went through all kinds of stuff. George has different types of birth certificates. The one that wasn't even listed on the government list is the one that they took. It was like his original birth certificate. They didn't even take the government one. So we had already went and applied for one. Most of the stuff they asked for, they didn't even look at. Okay, the hardest thing was the interview that I sat in, and everything that people bitched and complained and said that they were going to ask me. They don't ask all those things. It's each individual that figures if you're going to get a clearance, then all your stuff goes back and they go through this board. Like I think they said they do it once a week, once a month, two, whatever. There's like a time frame where once they have all your information, you get a full approval from immigration. And honestly, I think the woman asked a lot of good questions. It was a female that interviewed me and asked George questions and everything. So, yeah, I got my 13A a few months ago. But man, to get through it initially was crazy. The documents they wanted, and then we had someone come in. They didn't ask them for nothing for their 13A. Same office, and I told George. He actually told me to go home. That was pretty much because I didn't have one of the documents was not apostille, which is another thing. And we were like, we got married in the pandemic. We couldn't get it apostille, the embassies and all this stuff, or whatever, who it was, not the embassy, but it was somewhere in Washington was supposed to do the papers. And we were told the gold seal that we initially got on the marriage certificate and license was good enough. And other people said that's what I used. I didn't bring no apostille. We'd seen the people do it, but yet for me, they didn't. And I was like, well, I can't go back. Then the man said I was arguing with him. And I said, sir, I'm not arguing with you. And George just said, don't say nothing else to him. And so that was one of the heads in the office. So I started getting a hard time initially. So for those that were with us when we initially went through this, it was different. So there are other things with the bureaucracy. And then when it gets down to banking, same thing. It's dealing with the manager. Depends on your status. And then some people don't even have a status and end up with a bank account. I have no idea. So it was a while on the banking. So now I've got my banking, and it only took 5 years, people. So, all right. Let's see if I can give some key characters in the Wizard of Oz. What do you guys think is linked with key characters on like being here in the Philippines, like such as the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, Cowardly Lion? Let's see. I'm going to get you guys' comments here in a minute. I'm reading some of them now. The scarecrow is like seeking a brain. Indirect communication. And there's a lot of indirect communication here. Passiveness. It's the next person's issue. I think some of the corruption and stuff going on here, um, there's a tie to it. There's a nonverbal communication problem. There's Tampa with the women and men. George gives it to me. I already talked about that, guys. A yes may not always mean that they agree. You'll get this. George sometimes just doesn't answer me at all. I get a lot of indirect communication with George, and it's frustrating. I'm gonna tell you what, frustrating. And now, honestly, now, like when we were in Mexico, he communicated a little more, in my opinion, since we've come to the Philippines and he's on his territory. He has changed. You're going to find if you take your Filipino back to America, that Filipino will find their American changed, what he didn't used to be here, and vice versa. Like if you guys were in America and then you came here with her, there could be a change. I think that he's on his territory now. I have found that he's more, um, some would say he's not putting up with my shit, or he's stepping up, or whatever that he's doing, he's changed. And the communication, he doesn't communicate as much, and he takes off in a heartbeat. So in other words, he's always running off to the family. As soon as one thing goes slightly wrong, or if he didn't even have anything scheduled, he'll say, oh, I'm gonna go visit my family. And so the communication can be really bad with Filipinos, and they won't even explain why they're going to do something, how they're going to do it. It can get pretty real. It can get pretty deep. So, and then the tempo. I tell you what, the longest I think I've had is, I told you it was 7 or 8 days. Like literally, he didn't talk to me for that long. And I was like, yeah, that's crap. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I would have left and I would have that. Well, it ain't that serious, you know? But kind of crazy. That's pretty good. It's it's a it's a coffee. It's vanilla, but I put some brown sugar flavoring in. Well, it's not brown sugar. It's actually Moscavo, which is an unbleached brown sugar. Basically, it's almost like molasses. All right. How about the Tin Man seeking a heart? Could be a relationship. I just heard Sunshine talking about um, men don't protect, like they don't think with the right heads and all of that. And these guys go and have a lot of unprotected sex because the women say it's okay. And then, oh, I don't have to wrap that thing and everything. They end up getting these girls pregnant all the time. And it's something they did not expect, unless you're like Mark Thornton and you made a plan to have a baby when you had a 40-year age gap with illnesses. But these guys find themselves trapped. How are you going to be trapped? So then you're the damn Tin Man. You were seeking some nookie or family or love or whatever. Okay, so you're dealing as a Tin Man. No, Oz never did say nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already know. That was a great song. Mm-hmm. Down in it, down, 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 down. Now you got her pregnant. Down, down, down. So, anyways, the importance to family. Speaking of Tin Man, Filipinos tend to be direct on their family, but I've been reading and talking to people, and what I've seen over the years is there's a downside, like where they borrow money, or they love spending all their time with them. Like we're lucky because George's family has money. They're educated. They do their thing, and I don't have to worry about any of this. But I heard this guy. I read it through Reddit a few days ago. Blew my mind. He had a plan, man. It was like staying with a plan. You know, he gave the family money up front, so they owed him money, so they couldn't ask anymore. So, like, as soon as they would ask, he would just say, "Hey, are you wanting to borrow?" So he knew the key family members, and he loaned them like 5,000 pesos, and he knew they wouldn't pay it back. but it was a smaller amount instead of them asking for a larger amount. And all he does is remind him that you already owe me money. Then he doesn't have to give anything else out. And it was almost, I was like, that kind of makes sense because it could be a much larger amount down the road. But like most of the family had already done that. Oh, because they're like, oh, we're gonna pay you back and this and that. And of course they never did. I was like, oh, that's almost genius. And the other one that they do is they send their wives or girlfriends to school. Let them get a job. If they don't go out and get a job after you paid for some cheap schooling here, that's on them at this point. But the importance of family in dealing with the Tin Man thing is a real thing, okay? Um, Filipinos' concept of family extends to everybody. I mean, second cousins, aunts, uncles, you can expect them to show up and everything. Relationships are very serious here. They're very social. They're down to drinking, their parties, their hospitality. And that is the one thing that I really can respect here is the family values. I wish there were more countries like this. So let's see. What about the cowardly lion? Okay, dealing with conflict and trust in the Philippines. The seeking courage thing. I don't know. I see it's either one way or another. They're really passionate, as far as like all the boyfriend girlfriend fighting situation. But uh, dealing with the conflict and trust situations, boundaries. I think the boundaries are gone here. I mean, I'm gonna tell you what, I break boundaries. I'm gonna be the first to say there's a lot of things. I used to show up at George's house, but the reason my ass showed up at his house when we were dating is because you'd send a message, you'd call, we're dating. We just went out a few days ago, and are you dead? Did something happen? So then I'd go by his house, and George, first thing he throw, oh, you don't know anything about boundaries. I said, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry. I thought you were dead. And I thought I would drive by your house situation. George is like the man of international mystery. I mean, he's always holding some sort of mystery situation. But as far as some boundaries being set with Filipinos, again, I don't know if that's their child innocent like situation. It's like the same thing with the jealousy and all of this. It's something that I think us Americans have to have. I have to have schedule and some boundaries and whatever. I have to know when something is scheduled. Uh, some people could just live by the whim. It seems Filipinos live by the whim, by the seat of their pants. I'll deal with that next week. I will only buy enough flour and rice for today. I can't do that. I can't do that. The people that have come in to do work in the house when they come in here, it's like I've got at least 2 weeks worth of food on the shelf. And then we have where people send us stuff. And it's like, yeah, because I have to have a plan in case it rains but George was like that too in the United States, but he lived there for 27 years. So he was a prepper. I was really surprised as a Filipino. Like I said, he's different. When he says he's different, most of him is different. I notice now we're here in the Philippines. I'm like, them's your people. I'm flat out pointing out all the time. Them are your people. You're more Filipino. And he goes like, yeah, I get this look from him like this. I was like, you're Filipino. It shows more and more. Now that I'm around Filipinos all the time, I'm like, that's a Filipino thing. So, but setting boundaries, remaining respectful, trust, money, issues, potential. Utang na lube. Utang na lube. Debt of gratitude. This is heavy duty. This is really heavy duty. I've heard more and more Filipinos and the newer generation that, like, I probably say like our kids, they're in their mid 30s right now, our adult kids in the US and the one here, is that Filipinos will take care of their parents. But I hear more and more these parents did bare minimum, some of them to get by. Like they were living off of OFW money. They work part time throughout their lives. The ones that don't, then there's a situation of they're expecting handouts all the time. And the new generation is like not having it situation. But The utang na loob, the debt of gratitude, is a real thing, which can be challenging for the expats. It really, really, really can be. And kind of crazy. So there's a lot of things going on, like the money factors, guys, the dollar mentality, the peso mentality with the women, the difference in dating, where these girls that are already in a bad way will hook up with these expats that come here broken. And then it's like, who's zooming who's blaming who. You took him on as an older guy that is partially broke on Social Security, that's got mental issues or war issues from being in the military, and you take them on, and the next thing you know, you're fighting all the time. You're 3 kids deep in your relationship, and you're ready to move on to the next 19-year-old. And then the Filipina's jealous, and then there's all these things going on. But the situation of the hookups and stuff based on the money, and then you have the Payoneers, the millionaires that come in here, which is only by pesos that they are. There's so much going on when it comes down to the finances. And but the dollar mentality is real. People do perceive that we are rich, and they would probably say, yeah, you are. Okay, based on what you're spending, that, spending 3, 4 times, 5 times as much as a Filipino, and then having money in the bank would make us rich, but we're not all rich. I mean, I can't make car payments. I can't go into traveling all over the place. We spend our money other places, but it's like, I just can't see. There's a lot of difference in the money situations going on here. So money will be a different thing in the land of Oz. So it's there's a lot to process in being in the Philippines, retired. It's not what is being put out on the internet. I think there's just more and more confusion. I think that there is a bunch of propaganda. It's getting worse. I think propaganda is in all things: politics, YouTube, expat help, dating here, all of it, because the better they make it sound. I told George we just need to do a whole live stream where I'm like, oh, it's so, blah, 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 and feed people what they want and do, I hate to say this, the Filipina P. She fully admits she's script. It takes her days to do it. She tells you guys what you want to hear. She already said it. She just put a video out. If we would fully script, except for what I just wrote today, okay, to talk about the Oz, I wanted to make key points today. I'm like, well, screw it. Let me do it. But 80% of what I just said was me too, but not the P, fully scripted out fully. She's telling the guys what they want to hear. She's using her sexuality. I'm not using my sexuality here. As a matter of fact, I got this funky, fucked up wig on my head because I'm trying to make light of what actually is going on here. And I like to have fun. It's like, screw it if that's what I'm going to be doing. But the propaganda shit that is going on here, and the narcissistic vlogging that is going on here, of, oh, well, let me tell you about the real truth. Let me tell you about keeping it real, and I, I'm just doing this for me, and let me go through and show you this. Another goddamn walkabout vlog, another video about dating, another thing about, I mean, it is what it is. Eat it up if you will. Take it in by the spoon. Drink the Kool-Aid. But if your fucking ass comes here to the Philippines, you better check out what you're getting into. I came here because it was cheap. If shit switches around and they get all the corruption and all the shit under control, my rent goes up to 800, 900 US dollars a month, I'm out. I'm going back to Mexico or something. I'm going to figure something out, but I'm not staying here because I'm on vacation and the pussy is doing my dishes. That's not happening. Nobody's stroking my back at midnight. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm here because it's cheap to live. Yes, it's the country that my husband is from. But the moment the costs go up, and the moment that the infrastructure stays the same and they don't improve on anything, and I can't see staying either. Okay. Oh, if you don't like it, get your ass out of the country. You're going to hear this over and over again. Okay. Screw you. I'll leave when I'm going to leave. Okay. I'm here for multiple reasons. I keep hearing this. If you don't like it, then you should be out of here. I don't have to like anywhere. I don't have to appease anybody. Okay. I'm just gonna be me. That's just where it is. Talk about keeping it real. And so it's just where it is. You're in the land of Oz. Get over it. Get over yourself. It's just where it is. I hope you guys are just keeping it. Hmm. If we have enough time, let's stir you guys up. Maybe we'll talk about Jimmy Kimmel. Get the real opinion on that. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. There we said hi. Pink is for passion. Let's see. Second win said, my major first issues was cash in hand. Didn't have bank set up. Yeah. Until a routine. Yeah, I got to get a routine set up. I had to have my wife send money to my daughter's boyfriend to get cash. I'm glad that you actually mentioned that because George had not been home in a while. So Gcash didn't exist and all that. I thought it was going to be easier. God bless George in Mexico. Like he translated the signs. You think before I got in a car that I even thought about that stuff? No, the answer is no. And a lot of people, it's the same thing. You don't think about each little thing. And I'm hoping when I'm talking about or running my mouth during these lives, you guys will pick up on things like street signs can be serious. At least street signs are in English here. I did not think when we got in the car and packed everything up and made plans for a few months to get out of the pandemic and sell the business and do some vlogging in Mexico and head to the Philippines that I'd have to worry about translating street signs. Got there, couldn't read a goddamn thing. even at the border and stuff, I was like, what does that say? What does that say? And that had to be irritating to George. And at that time, okay, which was 6 years ago, the apps weren't so hot on translating like they are now, and the AI shit. They had some stuff, but we didn't. And so we had a translator that we spent $100. We still have it. It charges up and you can talk and it will translate. We bought an actual individual one that did it, but the signs was a no. And so he did that. And it's crazy. So the banking, let me get back to the banking. We did the Gcash. We kept two banks in the US, then we got down to one, and then we brought them all here. And because I was paying a fee for transferring the Social Security, and we were using the bank card. So either way, somewhere between $60, because people are like, oh, well, you should have switched to this and bank, you'd avoid 60 or 80, but that's what I paid. I was paying somewhere between 60 and 80 a month to transfer and use my cards every month. And that was getting ridiculous. Now that is money in the bank. More cat food, I guess. more donuts, please. And so, yeah, you don't think about that, different things like that. And then you learn like the Grab system for ordering a cab. We try to figure out versus the e-trike versus using his car versus let's say we did the Grab, which is like Uber, the e-trike or the car. Sometimes we have to determine, are we going to go park and do this and that, let somebody else drive, bad weather, different things going on, to use different transport too. Everything is a learning curve. And I think these guys are thinking with their ding dong when they actually arrive. And you're not thinking about all those things. Me, I must have been like that Paysoneer thinking, Miss Princess Paysoneer. I was like, oh, but my rent's going to be cheap and I'm going to have me a housekeeper and I'm going to have all this stuff going on. And none of that panned out. It was hot. I bitched at George. I was constantly sweating and itching. Had to try to find how to do my meds. That's something he didn't know. Finding a doctor, figuring out what we were going to do. And I get that people come through and say, oh, well, I got this and stuff, or so-and-so told me what to do. But usually when they go to put that plan into action, it doesn't happen as nicely as you guys think it would. Not when you're out of your element. You guys in the Oz are out of your element. Out of your mind, out of your element. It is the Wizard of Oz. It is the Wizard of Oz. Da, 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 da. I mean, it's just crazy. Out of your element is what you're going to find yourself in all the time, down to the simple stuff of finding things. you know, even finding some things. Yeah, do it online. Yeah, what if you need it instant? Who's skin taxing you for what? Where are you going to find it inexpensive? How you're going to get to it? When you're out of your element of not being in your home country, things become a lot more difficult. Add in the language barriers, which a lot of Filipinos do not speak English like people say. I just heard Gio recently say it's not what people think. It's still heavy accents. They have a heavy Hispanic accent. Came from Mexico, lived in Florida. That's what I hear is a constant, heavy Hispanic accent on top of their English. So it's really hard for me sometimes to understand. I get phone calls. George is not here. Then I'm sitting there trying to talk. I forgot what I ordered something. The driver, they didn't have it. Another out of stock. And they're like, no, we can't deliver it. I said, well, then just cancel the order. If you don't have it, you want me to totally switch something over. I said, I'm not going to buy another product totally different from the one I was looking for. I was like, that's kind of, if I'm buying a candle and some aspirin, you can't ask me to buy a bottle of shampoo and some baby powder or something. And that's basically what they were asking. We can get you this and that. I'm like, no, that's not what I was even needing. And so it was weird. I get their hustle and everything, but it's kind of crazy. Hey, good morning, Edward. What is going on? What is going on? What is everybody up to? What is it? Today is Tuesday, so it's Monday in the US. It's hard when George isn't here because I can't see the bottom of the comments. Trying to get to the bottom here. Make him a BLT sandwich. Yeah, he needs a sandwich. Down with the man. No more sandwiches. Here they all triked down. Yeah, isn't that weird? I guess it's because they don't want to pay the fees. Like the electric bill came in yesterday. Once again, George wasn't here. And sometimes we go and I don't think that's him. He's supposed to be gone. Just heard a car door. And I don't get why they go down and sit. Like one time he had to do it because we did it a few days before because our bank transferred it more. So he had to go into Pelco, but it took like an hour and he couldn't find any parking or anything. But we use Bayad, or we did find a way to pay it through Gcash and everything. We did officially transfer money into there and found a way. One bank works and then the other doesn't, which is weird depending on the actual bank. So, no, that's the people that have the cats. I can't believe they totally opened up a pet thing. And it was weird because they came in at like 2 a.m, like with some secret operation. They probably brought in a crap load of kittens. I don't even know where they got them. But, yeah, I don't get it. There's a lot of Filipinos to save 20 pesos that'll go stand in line in the heat or go and get onto a jeepney just to go pay a bill. I don't get it because everything so far I've been able to pay online except for if you wait till the last minute. So it's crazy. It's super slow here. Everything is slow. Yeah, it's like it's so slow. They almost go into reverse. When we go to the bank, it's insane. And there's nobody really there. There's only like 3 people. They make us go sit back down to process, and then they call you back up for our bank and actually count the money out. It's kind of insane. They have to get an approval by the bank manager sometimes to get certain amounts of money out. So we got to wait for that. And it's like, what's up? So did anybody hear about that? And I'm going to tell you per the comments, that Filipina that had the 179,000, somewhere along there, it was under 200,000, had the money totally skipped from her account. She claims that she didn't get any notifications whatever it is, it was covered by that News in Asia with what's his name. And the Filipina said that the money was for a surgery for uncle, which a lot of Filipinos and expats were like, yes, of course it was for your uncle. They're saying it's fake. I don't know. Allegedly, there's something else going on, but she had it taken, supposedly possibly a fake QR code, and all of her money was drained from the account in multiple things, which that's a lot. Almost 200,000 in one day. You would think it would have flagged. Both of our banks get flagged over the simplest things. But it was, she had no tears in her eyes. It was she's a vlogger. And they said it was the way that she did it, but now she's hit all of social media about banking. They just announced that the amount of withdrawal is going down at some banks. I don't know if it's based on what happened, but she's all over social media right now, how she lost her money. A lot of people are calling her out that something's not right. How did it, happen? Especially that much money. And so, and no tears. I mean, she's like super dry on losing that much money. But did anybody else see that one? What is his name? Is it Focus in Asia? No, I don't think it's Focus in Asia. News Asia. I can't think of his name. Here in Taeyong, yep, now Grab or Panda Express to deliver stuff. Yeah, it's nice to have the conveniences. And as I get older and with my medical problems, I want to have that. That's the only thing that keeps me from going out and living further out in the province. That and more bugs and more mosquitoes and snakes and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, lions and tigers and bears. Mosquitoes and snakes and George. Oh my. Snakes and George and snakes and George and George and snakes and George and snakes. Yeah. Yep. Just do two things around here. Takes a half a day. Yeah. Or one thing. And it's exhausting. George's like, oh, you don't want to go out anymore. And I said, it takes goddamn all day to do something. We make one plan to go do something and it takes forever, man. It doesn't matter. Even in traffic. If George goes to the family house, it's literally 3 miles away. It takes 40 minutes sometimes. 40 freaking minutes to go a couple miles. And it's insane. He'll go out and pick up some meds and he goes and he'll pick the donuts up. And sometimes he's gone for like 2-3 hours. And people are like, oh, he's out there getting some nookie and shit. No, man, it just takes that long. And I don't want to be stuck in some stinky traffic behind no jeepney and motorcycle that's revving at the stoplight, that I'm just going to get consumed with all this smoke and get burned up in the car. Even with AC, you're going to burn up like a mofo. Don't want to do it. It takes forever. Some people it was. My interview for permanent visa is easy. It was like a cool conversation. Ours was too. The lady was really, really nice. And all the questions are different and was really nice. I look forward for my visa extension oh God. I did extensions, came in on the Billig Vian, stayed the year, and then I renewed for a few more years but I didn't leave the country. We had to decide to either go on and go to Thailand or go back to the US and visit or do something and then come back in. And I was like, we might as well use that money. And I started thinking about it's going to be exhausting and all that. And we just went ahead and filed. So difference in price, of course, but I'm like, we might as well use it. And, I needed to stay for a few years to say, hey, I'm definitely never going back. Or were we really going to go to Mexico, or was we going to do something else? Yeah. Restaurant shopping and then go back. 4-hour ride. Wow. They have heart, so can't be the crow. Yeah. Right. Why do cashiers check your 1,000 pesos? It's insulting. So when they give me change, I check it as well, right? It's like, what's going on? I forgot. Someone mentioned that, how they do that in the US too. I forgot. They mentioned it was a really cheap store. I think it was a Dollar Tree or something. It's like, yeah, okay. Check that money. Hey, Ruby, good morning. You will. There's still a language barrier. And I get the confidence thing now. I've been in different countries at different times, but never had I been somewhere long like I am now where I should be learning more of the language. And I get shy too. So the 30 words that I might know, I see why Filipinos get shy when they speak to us and talk about nosebleeds. Even Senator Rafi Tulfo, he talks about nosebleeds, and he's a senator, okay, and he speaks English quite a bit, but he still has a lot of problems. I get it. It's a confidence thing, and you're not sure if you're saying it right. And if you do mispronounce it, maybe they won't say nothing. And it's the communication back and forth is really rough. People don't even think about that. Hey, what's going on? Speaking of ugly, how's the wife? Good morning. How are you, sir? I'm ugly and old. I'll laugh at any bar girl who flirts with me. Um, at the end of the day, they're there to entertain. I love a real, true love story when people get married and they do find happiness. And I really do. From the bottom of my heart, I even Mark Thornton. I never had nothing personal with Mark Thornton. Um, him and Jen seemed to have something going on. I think some of their decisions were off. But he found happiness in a dark time. He was severely depressed. He had and medical will do that. He had open heart surgery. He was, things with his kids and his ex-wife. There's all kinds of things going on in Mark's life. I get where the depression would set in, and he had his own depression thing. But he found happiness, and this is great. Guys will find something, but be realistic, man. Be realistic. When if something happened to George and he really did fall down those stairs and never came home from his family's house, and it was just me, okay, and somebody would date me, I am very plus size. So right off the bat, I'm really big. So I already have an expectation, and being old on top of that, that they would just date me based on my lousy Social Security check. But to them, it's 4 times higher than a good salary here. So they're going to be like, okay, I can deal. And I'm too old to fight anymore. If you'd asked me 4 years ago, I'd slap the shit out of somebody. Now, the older I get and the more my lupus kicks in, I want to take a nap by noon and I'm happy with AC and one donut. And so I'm pretty easy to please, right? But I couldn't see starting again. I couldn't see trusting what's going on. It has nothing to do with confidence. Well, if you have more confidence, then you wouldn't have to worry about. No, I'm realistic. I'm realistic. I wouldn't start with a man from 50 to 60 years old and date him in the Philippines or back in the US at this point. So these girls were brought on to actually please. You just have to be realistic if you decide to stay with them long term, determine things. Each man had his own track. Like, I'm sure the ugly tourist has got a nice wife and he's got a kid coming and everything. You knew where the flags were, if there were flags. Some you overlooked, like me and George. I got flags. George has flags. There are different things going on. No relationship is perfect, but you still have to be realistic, man. Not that I'm looking, but if I was single, I would be wrapped right. No, these guys aren't doing it. And Sunshine's telling the truth. These guys, the girls are like, don't worry about it. I want to feel it naturally, baby. And it's like, let me get my clothes on. Yes, yes, I'm gonna give it to her. Bam, bam, bam. And nothing, man. Raw dogging it. OMG. Pregnant, STDs. And it's like, you fool. Don't worry, that's not George. George cannot be manipulated. George cannot be asked to do something. George is straight up some 12-year-old kid that wants his way. It's like he's right in between. What do they call that? I can't think of the word. I almost said STD. It's almost like he's at the cusp of going into puberty or something. It's like he's like mean as a snake sometimes. I think he's going through the change and everything, but you can't sway him with nothing except for chicken and what else is it he loves more than life? He likes his donuts too, like I do. But George can't be swayed. I'm gonna tell you what, doesn't matter if I say, hey, I'm gonna stroke you or massage your back or go get you a beer. He can't be. I couldn't do it in the beginning. And he's just like a straight up guy. As a matter of fact, he's kind of a little evil. He's like a he's like a panda bear with a cute face and then like the devil inside him or something. He's just wicked sometimes, but wicked little guy. But can't sway him. But anyways, I'm digressing from the STD thing. But yeah, I don't even see how that even gets done. I don't even see how that even gets done. Ruby further down said finding a new partner depends on your expectations and the values in the relationship. Yeah, George is right. I cannot see. I cannot see that bottom message. He's right. Is this for long-term or short-term relationship? Yeah. A successful romance depends on the person's value. That is true. And you have to hold value. Know your value. I know my value. Doesn't matter if I'm old, sick, and fat. I know where I'm at. One, I love myself and I can live by myself for the rest of my life. So I don't need anybody. Not gonna sit there and be desperate and gobble it up. Secondly, I know what I can do. So I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I just need some companionship. So let me go ahead and buy it at this point, or I can never find anybody. When you don't hold your own self worth or self value, you're just going to let everything else go. So those guys that just become dumbfounded that did not wrap it, and his recent friend that got a girl pregnant, it's like I don't feel sorry. Even Sunshine's like, ugh. You know what I mean? Why he even got trapped like that. But now the guy's in a whole nother situation, and now it's bad. It's not what they thought. And some of them are only here temporary. They didn't come here to live permanently. It might have just been here for a few weeks, few months. I don't know specifically on that one. So Sperlin says, I do my voice change and act like I'm speaking in a mic and it gets everyone's attention. I find it odd. Yeah, people cutting in line. I seen that the other day. It was mentioned again by another expat that is weird. They do it all the time, and they do. They gas stations don't allow you to pump your own gas, which is weird, and that is for sure. Since you have been in the Philippines, what has been your experience with hospitals, good or bad? Right now, it's been good. It used to be that I used to be able to get most of my medications without a script. I still see a doctor. I have one that's online that I go through if I don't go in. And then there is Clark. And then there's another one called British something here that's in Angel City. They got a few of them. I'll have to find it. It's a British Royal Clinic. I like that one. I recommend people to go to that one. I think it's called British Royal Clinic. And it's up that way. And so far so good. I think some of their stuff is out of date, even at the newer ones. But the doctors seem to be knowledgeable and be able to speak. I'm also lucky that George's brother is a doctor. So been lucky on that. So you get further out in the province, I couldn't say because I haven't lived out there. Per the experience, people would rather come back in the city, and some will leave the country to go get medical. But my personal experience so far has been good. Getting medication is another one. So some places will give it to you without having a script if you run out, and then others will give you the hard time because that's just the rules. And then I cannot always get 30 days at a time. So on my medications, I usually can get a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time on the medication. And it's all self-pay. Yeah, borrow has a different meaning in the Philippines. Yeah. Hey, Ruby. I sympathize with your struggles in the Philippines and your partner's miscommunication or less communication. However, there are exemptions to the rules, and I'm one. We communicate, which is great. That's the one downfall that I think's hurting me and George right now is the communication. He just won't. I mean, I've told you guys that. You've seen us fight. It's very frustrating, but George is um, unapologetic about this situation, and he's straightforward on some other things. Like, it's weird how one subject will come up and he's just straight to telling you off about it. He won't even you guys seen him. I mean, you've seen him go, but other times I can hardly get anything out of him. There's been I and it's not because his dad passed, his grandmother passed. It's been like that now for almost 7 years. He's hot, he's cold on the situations, but most of it, if we just sit down and have popcorn and watch a movie, we'll communicate about the movie. If it suits him, then he's into talking, or all in on what he's doing. It's good time George is the one where we get along. If you go outside and start talking about, this is what we got to do today. I need you to do laundry. Do you mind doing something with the cat? He won't hear me at all. Like the other day, I literally told him something. It's like he's got this brick wall or something. I'm like, I just said that. I mean, like literally within the minute. And I was like, just said that, babe. And I'll laugh about it, but it's like he's closed down. But I've seen this in other Filipinos totally. I don't know. If you're having a good time, the Filipinos are with you. It seems like when it comes down to adult stuff, it just a shutdown. So are they all in the mind frame of a 13-year-old? No, of course not. But it does seem like that. The karaoke, the drinking, the good times, the fun times. And then when it comes down to, real life, some of them are shutting down. Oz, the Wizard of Oz, and the Philippines, I've always said it's like being at a state fair. It's like the 80s and summer camp wrapped in one. Just add the Oz to it. I can't really describe anymore. It's like the guy that got that girl pregnant. I bet you it was one big party. I bet you it was one big party for that guy, and now he's got her pregnant. Oh my God. So I'm all over the place today. It's got to be the coffee kicking in. Filipina is telling AI that I'll call Filipinos out when they cut in line. Yeah, and I will tell them to get back in the queue. You'll be surprised that they'll go in the back of the queue. Yeah, and that's another thing. I agree with you, Ruby. Expats have a hard time being able to talk to Filipinos because they get so inflamed. You can say the smallest things, like that guy at immigration. I get he's immigration, but all I said is, sir, I can't go back to the US right now. I was like, because I still had plenty of time on my visa. I said, I'll find a way to get it online. He got offended because he told George to tell me not to talk back to him. I was like, I didn't. He goes, yeah, but that would be talking back. And I'm like, so now you're agreeing with him, but Filipinos are so hypersensitive. So honestly, I want to deal with things like I'm back in the US or like when people are back in a Western country, but you can't because they're hypersensitive. So you have to be careful. I have found that there are very sensitive Filipinos. They're very sensitive. It doesn't matter. You can't joke on certain jokes, but they can joke. And I'd be afraid if I tell people to get out of line, they, as many, mistake me being overweight and huge to me being a bully. And I don't bully people because of my size. But if I'm standing next to a Filipino that comes up to my boob level and I say, get in the back of the line, it's like, oh my God, she bullied me. Because this has happened since I've been in the Philippines. So just based on saying something, I've been blamed on something. And it's like, are you kidding me right now? And it's just an assumption, but you got to watch how you speak to Filipinos too, because it can be, it's a rough thing. There's a very hard balance here. Drama Oz, yeah. They do take care of their elderly. That is true. Got to give it to them. My girl's father was restricted to a wheelchair, so her sister left college to take care of him. Most do. Don't assume they all do. There are just bad families as there are good families, because it definitely isn't all, but for the most part, their culture says yes, that's what they're doing, and they do. Just like we talked about that when you see one bad seed in the US or expats that are here, doesn't mean they all are. The same with Filipinas on the scamming, then every one of them get put in a basket that they're all scammers, and that's not true either. So it's but in general, they do take care. As a rule, if someone comes to borrow money, I never lend the money. However, if I can afford to gift the amount, I do so, and helping out, no expectations to pay it back. Yeah. But the P, she has her stick and it works for her. No, there's no doubt in my mind. Yep. It's what's getting her paid. It's highly scripted, highly planned. And she uses the whole fantasy and information, and it is her stick. And she said that. I believe that was her word. That's my stick. It is a really hard spin on a lot of the Dumageddon vloggers, and she lucked out on that. A lot of work. There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt. No doubt. Well deserved. Yeah. Well, she really did. Has she officially went there? Is that why most of her vlogs? I know that she was there and she just showed that, but I wouldn't doubt if that's where she's been doing her vlogs lately. So, hey, what's going on, Chosen One? Yes, Kimmel is back on. Yep, most definitely. And it'll probably piss people off to say that he was highly insensitive on what he said. He was with writers and scripters. He knew what they were saying and put in there, the assumptions. Even if it was down to a lie, he would still do the free speech. And the situation going on that, it was wrong. And I think that's why they reestablished him. He probably even threatened to sue. It's all over the news that he was going to, but probably instead of buying him out, and people were canceling their subscriptions and getting highly upset and all the crybabies about it and the whole 9 yards, it was still for me down to what was right, which was free speech. Don't care if it's a lie, don't care if it was made up, if he was reading from a prompter. The late night shows are meant to be rude, crude, out there, and he still has free speech. It's the one thing that we have, just like God bless Mr. Kirk, Charlie Kirk, is that he had the right to. It doesn't matter for all the people that said that he was discriminating and this, and that, because there's a whole story behind Charlie Kirk. Me and George are super neutral, because I just seen a video and saved the video in 2016. He was against the government when he first started, and he called himself Turning Point USA. He wasn't what he is now. And so in the protest video and commentating where he was outside, he was down with the government. And it's real. It's not AI. It was 2000 and I believe 16. And so it's kind of crazy because people grow over the years. He was picked up by a couple billionaires and processed to start going to the campuses. And they used him to bring in the voters. He become a politician-like person, and he did his thing. He is a godly person. I respect him on that. I feel sorry, so sorry for his wife on this situation. And then there's all this other propaganda out there that it's not real, that the gun and the bullet, and that now they're calling him Superman, that the bullet got caught in his neck and saved other lives. So he's a hero on top of a hero. And then all the hate and the negativity on that. But there should have been more sensitive situations going on with Jimmy Kimmel where I probably would have left that out. I'm talking about now because the funeral thing's over. Now Jimmy Kimmel's back and George isn't here. And basically, it was still down to the freedom of speech. It doesn't matter. There were no threats. That's when it would have became more serious. If he would have threatened his life during that free speech, then okay. Then that's when he loses. But I think it was just Jimmy Kimmel and the other ones, just a lot worse said, I promise you. And it was funny. I just seen Snoop Dogg where he interviewed him years back, and he talked about when his show was going to end, and it'd probably be that easy. And it actually almost did. And honestly, I don't even really watch him. I see him on the occasion. He comes up in our feed, so I ain't got no skin in the game. I just know that the constitutional rights are disappearing in the US. But I love my country. Make no mistake about that. I love the Philippines, but I'm still going to talk shit. Still going to talk shit. Oh, and another one of my pet peeves is how nosy they are. Oh man, the chismis is real, man. How much you pay for that? Where you going? What you been? How long? Well, this is where the jealousy thing sets in. I haven't met too many guys. Sorry, I'm shaking my coffee, so the table's shaking. I'm trying to shake up the brown sugar stuff in there, but it's a real thing. The jealousy thing. It is what actually breaks some of the couples up because a lot of men are up there in age. They don't want to deal with that childish stuff. It gets down to it being childish for a lot of men. It does. And it doesn't, it's not pretty on a woman that they thought was sexy and inviting and all that. And then all of a sudden it's like, what's in your phone? Where you been? What's happening? Or when your family members are asking you that. And you got to watch that. They'll dig that stuff out of you too. Got to be careful. No, Thaddeus, now we're not talking politics. Are you kidding me? I'm mentioning that Jimmy Kimmel's back because somebody mentioned it. We didn't do a whole goddamn show just on politics. And honestly, we've been super neutral. So for anybody that comes in with this politics shit and tries to flip liberal and right winged and left wing and all that are just bullshit. So what it is everybody is just against everybody now. Ain't nothing. Believe me, we've stayed silent. Why everybody else post about it and post it in Facebook and it's full in Instagram and it's full filled TikTok and all these conspiracies on both sides. I think everybody is bullshit. But the Kimmel thing was bullshit. Call it politics or not. It's constitutional. Period. And George's like, yeah, we shouldn't at all. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. If you guys don't want to watch because I said that he was reinstated and that it was part of the Constitution, then get the fuck off the channel. That's the bottom line on that shit. Fucking blind, drinking the Kool-Aid and everything else. And anybody who speaks against any situation which appears to speak against the White House are all bullshit. That's not true. So fucking neutral, but it was wrong. It was wrong for Kimmel to talk about it. It was wrong to pull him off. He should have held on that, but he didn't have the right to be threatened by his FCC licensing, period. But can't talk about a Filipino meltdown. Yeah, no, because we're not going to get involved in the corruption that already exists here and getting involved. No, because I'm actually living here on a visa of this country and I'm not going to. Already bad enough the US can pull passports and deport Americans and do all this other bullshit. No. The embassy warned, do not do this, and where I'm not going to do it. So for every fucking idiot that's out there with a camera that's out there standing next to them and walking down the street with them, they're fucking idiots. They're fucking idiots. I got a nephew, Thaddeus said, I got a nephew in the West China Sea defending your ass. What does that mean, Thaddeus? Defending my ass for what? Are you going to lose it? Is that what's going on? Defending whose ass? All right, next. So that's about as much as you're going to get. You guys talking back and forth. Accents have been, let's see. accents have always been easy for me. It's been most of my life foreign people, but the heavy Hispanic one's heavy for me. Hope you find a good house help. Probably not. Somebody mentioned that the other day. I got one as soon as we were settled, recommended from a family and friend, 1,000 pesos a day. Yeah, for 1,000 pesos, they have to be highly trusted. We had possibly where we were going to have one come in. The problem is just the different hours and everything. But yeah, that's about that for the good help. That would be a good price. I use Gcash a lot for the young ones in college, and they always need their loads, right? Yeah. I pay all of our electricity, water, internet using Gcash. Yeah, 10.5, yeah, pesos. And then my new one is Buy It. So I was able to pay it. We get our stuff in on a text message now for our electricity. And so yeah, now we go into Buy It. Make sure if you use Buy It Pay, which is really easy to use also, that you do it during business hours, because if they're closed, like the electricity company, you have to wait till they open to do it, because it'll deny you to put the date of that it's due, and it could bounce out. Remember, we had our money tied up 1 month, so I think it was around 11 or 12,000 was tied up for about 2 weeks. Somehow it did not hit them, and we did it after business hours. And we went to go pay again this time, and because it was outside of hours, it wouldn't let us set a date. We waited till 9, and then we were able to do it. So you got to be careful. But yeah, that's a good way to do it. I saw that one. It was sad. She showed the receipts, multiple withdrawals. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was somewhere between the tier situation and the situation of how it was done, how much that it was for a surgery, and it just sounded so typical on the scam. And she is a bigger vlogger, so I would think that she just wouldn't make something up like that. But I didn't find the clear situation of how, because she showed she received the text messages. So if she started to receive those, I'm just wondering how it was done, especially larger amounts like that. So maybe it was a scan. Was it through the barcode? My doctor visited a few months back. Appointment was good from 9 to 12. First come, first serve. Showed up at 8, first in line, and was seen at 1:30. Yeah. Or you could be canceled. So it depends. So good morning. What is up? Looking good. I have to pay everything electronically. I can't be standing in line for long. Fortunately, the agent um, of the condo takes care of the utility bills and sends me a receipt. Yeah, it's ours is in. Most of the electricity is in, unless you actually own the unit, like ours is too, but we pay it. So that blogger has 2 accounts. Yeah, Asian Out Living Abroad. Thank you. That was his name. We actually interviewed him. We just know his name. His name's Alex, but we interviewed him about 2 years ago. So that's for sure. Just reading through the comments. Ruby, Ruby, Ruby. And if you guys aren't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Thomas says, right, but a successful romance depends on the person's value. Yeah, I'm very aware of my value. Yep. and I'm not getting a 20-year-old vixen, maybe even 30. I mean, with me being 54 this year, that would just be rough, even considering a 30-year-old. So, or actually know what's actually going on. Ruby says finding a new partner depends on your expectations and what you value in the relationship. Yeah, and this is long term or short term. Most definitely. Second one, go sit down somewhere because I know that's what you are. I know that's what you are. See, that's you, the Pop Tart. See, that's you, Tart. That's you, Tart. I know you were 5 pesos. Yeah, my agent speaks great English and she is not formidable, but she would say, Sir Raymond, my nose is bleeding. Yeah. And she was happy when I would speak Tagalog with her. Yeah, I hear you. We get that a lot too with ones that speak English all the time. And then I get mad at George. Like if we're out at the market or doing something, I'll say, speak Tagalog. Because when you're always speaking English, I said, then that's when we get charged. And then he yells at me. He's like, but if I do, then you don't understand. So that's why I speak English is what he goes, I can't win, And I'm like, yeah, but you're getting this charge. Please approach and just speak Tagalog. You better sit down somewhere. Yeah. Make me a steak, a sandwich. That's right. I fooled George today. I made before he left. I made like a egg omelet, like the fluffy ones that they make at Egg Stop, and then I made a oatmeal like bean patty. Basically, it's a vegan patty that you put smoked flavor and spices in. So basically, it's healthy for him. I fit that in there on him, and he's like, "What is this? What is this patty?" I said, "It's not meat." Just like last night, not meat. I said, "Not meat." Hey, Sean. I heard a lot of older guys just come over there and enjoy retirement years alone without getting involved with anybody. Some do, but most of them will say that and then they get involved within a year. Married and baby sometimes within a year. So they're just trying to beat the high cost of living in the US. And that's what I'm doing. We weren't going to come to the Philippines probably until we were in our early 60s, mid 60s. It was way down the line. But when the pandemic hit and we had the savings and the business started to topple because it was employees disappeared, they locked them down, and then they all needed permits and stuff, and there was an overchange and nobody wanted to work. They were afraid of the pandemic. It was bad. And I'm like, no, now's the time. That's it. It's cheaper to live there. Let's go to Mexico first. Let's go. Which was on me. I wish he'd have been a little bit more verbal instead of, oh, it's hot there and I don't know. No, he just kind of let me take my own fall on the whole situation. And he's like, okay, let's go. And I'm like, so, but the situation is actually real on that it was the cost of living for us. And that's still why I'm here. If that topples and they straighten everything out and all of a sudden it really got expensive and things doubled or tripled, I'd have to reconsider if I'd stay here where I can't make no money. If things get so expensive here that being on my Social Security and some money that George has does not fit living here with all the problems that goes on in this developing country, I don't want to call it third world country and offend some people, that it'd be a little different than me staying here because if it's that bad and I had to go back to the US and it's too expensive that I couldn't keep my Social Security and I had to get a job because it's that or death or be institutionalized or elsewise, then I had to get a job. Then it would have to be the US, not here. There's just no work here. So I think it would just be a hot mess. And this possibility, it is very much, you should always expect inflation plus more. Anything can change here. This used to be at one point a first world country where things were way nicer. And what if everything did flip and the economy flipped and everything and it wasn't like that? They got their stuff together like Singapore or some of these other countries, then would it really be affordable to be here? It's the biggest reason people are here. And unfortunately, mine isn't over pussy and that I absolutely am here because people are nice to me and not nice to me in the US or because I'm not getting my way. I'm here because of cost. It's just where it is. It was something, it's just where it is. When we go back next year, we set ourselves for the doctors at Clark. Yeah, I love Clark Medical. Our experience with their service has been good and the costs are reasonable. Yes, I agree. Funny, I tell hubby in the morning I want coffee, and he'll get up and make me one. Isn't he a sweetheart? Yeah. George makes me. He'll make like these egg rolls, and then he takes eggs, and we have like one of those Japanese pans where you just kind of keep flipping it and stuff, and he does that all the time. George cooks too. He used to bake me cookies all the time. He doesn't bake anymore. We don't have the oven in here. We have not invested in a gas stove or putting an electric stove. Just the cost would be outrageous if it was electric. Not just sensitive, but a lot of Filipinos tend to overplay their authority. I think so. It seems like there's a lot of self-importance, or that they've got, some of them tend to. I thought getting away with keeping up with the Joneses was something different, but I did see something real that shows that they have the nicest phones, nicest cars, and then they live in a place with 7, 8 family members where it's practically falling apart. But on the outside appearance to friends and family, like when they go to parties or go visit other people that have not been in their house, it's, they're living beyond their means, but they do it in the US too. But here it does seem to be, yes. The Filipina pea's hair is long and beautiful. Raymond says a lot of people got upset when Kimmel was taken off. Disney was getting backlash from all sides. Correct. Republicans, Democrats, independents, whatever you call them. I and George tend to go by what's going on, where there's a lot of good and bad coming out of everywhere. But still, we don't have to fall on your side or stay on our side or agree with everybody. But I'm going by the biggest thing that stands. People's rights are disappearing in the U.S. And it's unlike everybody from Pulitzer surprise winners, Pulitzers, major networks, everything. It doesn't even have to be one. I get so tired of the like where they come from or whatever, but there are major things going on that's just going crazy in the United States, and I have to take in each individual thing one day at a time. But although he was an insensitive prick on that, he still had the right to stay. He should have reconsidered that, and his wording was off. But to take it, people have said way worse in the past. It just seems to be the cross that everybody wants to die on is this kid right now. And everything else going on, including the Epstein files and all these, that this is where they want to stand on, but it's pissed off Democrats, Republicans, everybody is I'm like, oh wow. So, but yes, there's backlash. I would hate to think that they just flipped their wig based on people canceled subscriptions too, but it's hard saying. Yeah, and so this was Thaddeus earlier. Yeah, and I understand, but can't talk about the Philippines. Yeah. The nosy isn't my wife, it's my neighbors. Yeah. Heidi and George knows how much I love politics. They're in my Facebook. Right. And here's another thing. I know a lot of people been like deleting, canceling. We've had people on both sides that keep coming up in our feed, and we usually just look at it and it's like yeah, they have the right to express and this and that. We don't cancel them. We don't, it's just where it is. So, but on that one, it was just odd. And it also came up in the feed, so I was definitely going to answer it. I just think that's where everybody's in danger at this point. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to that would be getting further into what the Pentagon said, because of the Kimmel thing, the Pentagon thing came up and they said they're going to start doing something. What is that? That was weird. Must be a kid outside. They used to have them little clackers that they used to have. They used to swing around. We started to get the not the karaoke, but the carolers are here already. And like 2 days ago, they went up and down the street for an hour. Yeah, them are the clackers the kids are using outside. They're clacking them little balls and little things that's going back and forth. That is weird. So, anyways, they kept trying to catch people at their doors in the dark, and they were just beating a can going up and down the street, about 7 or 8 kids. So they're already starting, although it is the Burr months and Christmas season has started for us, then they're starting already. And George goes, "Oh no, you're not going to do it this early or they'll be here every day." And so I bought a shirt in one of the SM malls. I liked it so much. I wore it back to the store. I asked the salesperson if I can find the shirt. He said out of stock. There were some behind her. Yeah. Silent quitting is what we call that. And Thaddeus, I'll put that up because you did. You said your nephew is, and I don't want to be insensitive on that when I said that earlier, in West China Sea defending your ass, although you use the word ass because you know, I understand. Was that with the American? Is that U.S. military or is that the Philippine military? And thank you for his service, no matter which one it is. So I do want to say that. We as visa holders told not to do politics stuff. Yeah, which makes sense. Not my country. Yeah. Raymond. So you can cry free speech. Gotcha. You're talking about he's out there defending. Hey, Victoria. Good morning. Good morning. Got back at temperature. Melbourne airport, 6 degrees Celsius. And what a big change from the Philippines. Yeah. Actually, I can't believe I've reached a point, Ruby, because I told George it would never happen. Like I was out there this morning, just feeding, taking trash out and doing my thing. And I seen a guy go by up the street and he like he was going to work or something. And I was like, it's nice and cool out here. He didn't break a sweat or nothing. But every time I stepped out, no matter what time of the year it was, the first 2 years, I sweated really bad, really, really bad. And I was out there and I was like, it's a little nippy out here. So I think my body is slowly adjusting. But it usually stays hot. The electric bill was the same. I just want to let you guys know it was almost exactly the same. The electric bill was about 7,500 pesos. So it's anywhere between 7 and 10,000 pesos. But that is 24/7 AC. That's the downstairs. That is a few fans in the house. We have a washer that we run. That's the computer charging things. Lights stay on. We have cat water fountains. We've got a dehumidifier. We got a lot of electronics in here. Ice maker, refrigerator, deep freezer. So it's like when the landlord came in here about a month ago, it's just like he looked around, and then George had been gone like all I think it was like 3 days during the last family event or something. And when he came back, it was like he was sitting in the dark. He goes, I just realized how much the lights light up this room because he had been gone. And he goes, man, we've got a lot of electronics because Filipinos don't always tend to load down. As a Westerner, we do. So when the guy came in here to fix the plugs, by the way, the electrician has been in here twice this month. And when he just, it's okay. As I was like, just a Westerner. Thank you, Second Wind. Right. The dehumidifier dried George's nose up the other day. He said, he goes, and my tongue is dry. He's like this. And I said, uh-oh, humidifier. I'm like, deep, 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 deep. Let me dry that bitch out some more. I just let me drop that to 40 versus, putting it back up. But no, it does pretty quick. So we only run it part time here when the laundry's up or humidity. So like when you turn it off for a few hours, it gets to be about 70% in here. I'll turn it on to 50 and let it run. But it did dry their tongue out. Did U.S. lockdown during COVID? You know what? Someone asked that the other day, and the answer is yes. Evidently, people are already forgetting the pandemic. But then again, the kids that were born during there are entering elementary this year. The answer is yes. In Florida, we were not allowed to leave the house. I don't care what anybody says. We were told during certain hours at the very height, like the beginning, when things got crazy and the store says you can't enter here without mask, and they were putting the tape up and the circles and social distancing. No, they were nasty. We had to get every employee had to get documents to be able to even leave the house to go work. No, it was a real thing, Ruby. I don't care what anybody says. People had to stay at home. There was a point, I can't say how long that was, but there was points, yes. My biggest mistake of retirement was I have credit and debt. So now I'm still having to pay down debt. You have the right to remain silent, so shut the F up. Saw that in the cop show, right? Yesterday at SM Clark, the parking was full, that we had to park at the top level. Wow. So many cars, right? So it made you think about that. And it's getting more and more. And it's like everything here. But when I was talking to George, I was like, I really just believe it's because a lot of the upper class, which is, between middle and upper class, I think the amounts are 40. I don't have it in front of me, so don't shoot me if I say it wrong. I think it goes up to 100 and something thousand to 40. So it's somewhere between 1,000 US to a couple thousand US they consider middle class. So between that and the 1% that are uber rich, like millionaires here, is still less than 60% of the country, 58%. I'm at just top of my head. Those people must all live in the city. I think you have the people that I'm seeing a lot of are the ones that are the workers, and then of course families born in Angel City and all of that. But when we go everywhere, they're spending way more money than we are. And not all coffees. I heard someone the other day that said coffees are only 100 pesos, 200 pesos, 300. And I'm like, sometimes they go up higher than that at some of these coffee shops. And that's really high for a Filipino. So a lot of the items are charging US prices these days, and everybody's at the mall. Everybody's spending money. And like George said, I come from a family that has something, and I still feel everybody's spending way more money. And he says they're all spending money, and look at everybody's new cars. And so, it's crazy. For a country being of this stature where it's hard to get decent jobs and all that, it's kind of crazy. All of the food outlets, are full of customers and queues outside waiting to be seated. Yeah, it's crazy. And some of those places aren't even cheap to be in. Like the cost of the foods in there. I forgot the name. It's at Conti's. No, Conti's. I'm trying to think. But like the plates of food started at $10, $11, $12 for a small plate of food. And then it just goes up to add a dessert from it. And I'm like, yeah, by the time you're done, that's $20 a person. And I'm like, yeah, I also didn't come here to pay that. I don't mind doing it every now and then. I could have had a pizza for that. So I'm trying to set up a meeting with Filipina after she is done with work. She comes into Cebu from further outside the city for work. I know most people suggest coffee for the first date. I would keep it simple, for the first date. Yeah, some guys go way out. Like George on our first official date in the US went way overboard, and I love him for it. Like he took me to a restaurant, and the bill was up there. It was a few $100s. It was riverfront, like it was on the water. The food, like the plates of food, $20, $30 each. He got a bottle of wine. He had already baked me cookies, had flowers on the table, put a little little stuffed bear with it. He went like way out for the first date, and it was like almost too much. It seemed so Filipino to me, like how, like had to put out that, like, hey, it's me situation. And so it's kind of crazy, but I'd probably keep it. Yeah, I would keep it. Coffee, maybe like where there's a Danish, or make sure it's something she can nibble on, something, yeah, yeah, because I wouldn't go, not because of cost, I would just keep it simple. So maybe just go to the movies and keep her in the dark somewhere. Oh, no, that's a good idea. Yeah. Last couple of days, the morning temperature in the Philippines was cool. Yeah, it was really nice this morning. It's been raining. Oh, I think it's raining now. Matter of fact, I know it is. Cookie, why are you over there? You need to get down. She's up on the pillows and the cushions. I got to do those sheets. Oh, baby girl is sick. One of the other kitties is sick. Hi, honey. You okay? Aw. They're getting sick one at a time. And there's nothing really we can do. Vet said they're just going to go through it. So we just got Pigsy Bear over it. And now I was telling you guys the other day, the little one. So first it was Geo, the black cat, the all black cat. Then it was Pigsy. And then it's now it's baby girl. They're about a week apart. They just like pretty much just sleep. It looks like they've got a cold, but there's no snot, no congestion, no nothing. As a matter of fact, that's what happened to my arm. I was trying to give her some of her meds, like fever meds, like you can feel their ears are warm. And when I did, she put her claw on me. I put her on the counter and she clawed me. Had to put some medicine on that. Because she might bring family, okay, and if she gets out of work, yeah. So I would do that. I'd do the coffee where they can pick up a Danish or something to snack on, or where it has sandwiches or something. But that way, if she brings 4 or 5 of them, you're not like out crazy, and something simple. I was a rebel in the US when the pandemic hit. I didn't listen. Well, I was highly upset. I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not putting on a mask, especially being, I should, because I had the autoimmune issue. And the other problem is I was like, oh my God, I can't believe. And it was hard to breathe. Like the jobs that we would go to, or customers or whatever would come in, we would have to wear the mask. I'm like, I can't breathe. I cannot do this all day just to work. I started giving George a hard time. I was like, I can't breathe in this thing. I was really, George's like, yeah, we're going to have to. And we kind of went through that whole thing. But we came here to the Philippines, and it went on for another year or so. We were the last country to actually remove all the restrictions. There was a point when we got to the Philippines, we couldn't even leave the city. I didn't even go outside. Over a certain age, which I didn't hit that age restriction, but they actually asked the elderly and people like me with autoimmune and that were sick, because I could pick it up, spread it, or whatever. We ended up with the COVID here, and we ended up with it in Mexico. So we ended up with it twice. I was unvaccinated. It wasn't required to get in the country when we came in. George was. That could be what's wrong with him now. I shouldn't joke about that. There could have been some issues with the vaccines. Go check out the mall, near her. Yeah, and see what's in there. There's going to be something that's, just right. It turned millions of dollars pharmaceutical industries into trillions of dollars. Always money to be made somewhere. It doesn't matter. Major symptoms is blood clotting. Yeah. Keep taking the aspirins from the clotting. Yeah. My wife said, don't be fooled. Most cars are not paid. That's what George said the other day. It's in payments. A lot of them go into debt, like on the fancy phones and everything. OFWs, working to send remittances. I seen that with the in-laws. Oh, my heart's breaking. Every time I hear the gate, I think that's him coming. I never loved to hate somebody so much as I do George. We got like this love-hate relationship. What it is here's the thing. I feel Filipinos are the most loving, sensitive, kind people in the world. But when they're pissed, watch out. I'm not even kidding. George is like that. You guys have seen me pop off on air, but you've seen him pop off. He's just as evil as he can be nice. And we're so sensitive to each other's needs and everything. And I'm incomplete without him, and vice versa. It's nice sometimes to be able to talk like I am during the live where I'm not getting this like side look because I said something about Jimmy Kimmel today, and it's like, dang it, man. You know what I mean? But it's like, on the other hand, it's like every time I hear the click outside, I'm here. You know what I mean? It's heartbreaking. And you're going to find that in retirement. I want to mention that on the side note, that it's really boring sometimes in retirement. You cannot go out and spend money all day unless you're a multimillionaire and travel all the time. Not that it would take that kind of money. You get my point. You can't always be out. Like today it is. It's extremely raining out there again. I'm not going to go out there. I don't risk things when it comes to rain, flooding, traffic accidents. My dad always said, if you ain't supposed to be somewhere, you shouldn't be there. Do not force yourself to go out because your friend called you at 10 o'clock at night and said, hey, there's this chick here at the club. Why don't you come down and see it? Or there's a singer down at the club. My dad says you shouldn't, one of those, you shouldn't be somewhere you ain't supposed to. Like, I've always made plans and this and that. George is a free bird. George doesn't tend to. But when it comes down to the retirement, doing things all the time aren't going to happen. And so I embrace living my everyday life to the best ability that I can in my environment as if I was back in the US. And you're going to get bored. You're going to get depressed. You're going to get overwhelmed. And then add that into living in the Philippines. And it's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. So I want you guys to consider that it's not the high life that everybody, lets it be. You're still living in the land of Oz. In two ways about it. Yeah, it's coming down so hard and very windy. Yeah. I got a T-Vex suit. Oh, did you really? You went full. When we came in hardcore, like we had the fans in our mask. But George got this idea. We got those oversized helmets. They sat on the back porch forever, and George is a pack rat, more than me. There was a whole back porch of stuff I just threw away because I just couldn't see. It's been 5 years, and we had these oversized helmets that were collecting dust and getting like really warped. And they were huge when we got off. You look at some of our videos a couple years back, you could see how big these things were, and I was sweating to death in this thing, but we didn't go that far because we had to have both. So it was face shield and that. But George was worried about with my lupus and asthma and the different things that we were going to get sick again. So, yeah, that's one good thing I heard our Philippine Journey talk about. Even though we've had some typhoons come in and stuff, overall, there's bare minimal flooding. It's not like it gets so bad that it looks like what Manila and some of the other areas look like. We're in a pretty good spot, and we're not very far from the airport. Down where our Philippine Journey is, he's within miles of the airport, but we're really close to it. So I still feel that we're in a good spot. Always try to check things like you would the US, check the flood zones. They have all that listed here. Talk to the neighbors, get to know what's going on if you can, like get to know the area, talk to the landlord to find those things out. He's got us in a pretty good spot. We'll probably be here for a few more years for sure because I officially just fixed a bunch more plugs and we've been doing improvements on the house. We officially got, we have the hot water heater upstairs. Now we have one downstairs. And because there is no hot water in these units, you have to install your own. So like this house was bare minimal for the cost. Like we had to install everything, including there was little to no pressure on the water. So it's totally set up for everything now. Is there something going around the Philippines? I have a cough. There is something because when I went to the doctor, I was telling you guys that I had the acid that came up because I don't have no gallbladder on top of everything else. It wasn't that. I've got something else because George is sick too. So we're both sick with some sort of pneumonia, flu-like something. So we're both short of breath. We're both tired, more tired on top of tired. I almost totally lost my voice the other day. You can hear it's different. And his body and back is aching, upper and lower back. Mine too. Even though I'm a big girl, that's usually the last thing that hurts me. And so, there's congestion and everything. Now, for people that are coming into the Philippines, you're just going to get that flu thing from the humidity and being tired from the trip and all of that, adjusting to the weather. People always get like that temporary sickness. They spend, like, if they're here for 2 weeks, sometimes the first week they're sick. So you should bring in the sinus meds, aspirin, etc., all these things. For me, there is something going on. So there is so it turns out that the bile and the acid and me being sick was just something in my stomach. So there's nausea. George is slowed down on eating. I'm surprised I'm drinking this coffee, but it's actually cold on my throat. So there's something. There's something right now going on. Because I wasn't going to mention that it's more of a flu-like situation until it actually was evident when George was sick too. I'm up to date on your shots. Yeah, I still haven't taken any. So inside the condo complex, it does not flood, but as soon as you go past the security gate, I'm down the street, lots of flooding. Yeah, it depends. You can just go right around the corner for sure. Thaddeus said jet skis would be the trick getting around the severe flooding. That would be actually awesome. Don't know why the government doesn't use them. I was wondering why. I've seen that. That would be awesome. We have, speaking of that on the side note, like extra rides. George, we have the trike and we have the car. I've been seeing them four-wheelers, like those, I don't know, they call them RAVs. I'm not good at the names. But basically, I was wanting to get one because I know them bad boys could hold me and they're a lot easier to ride. And then they've got the four wheels versus the three on the trike and stuff. And it's uncomfortable. There's expats way smaller than me that get in that trike, and it's uncomfortable for them because of their height. I'm big, so it is uncomfortable riding that trike by myself, so I don't do it. But if I could get one of those four wheelers and shit, I'd be running me some people over like, you know what I mean? But I think they're called four wheelers when I think about you talking about that, the jet skis. But yeah, I'm surprised too, for sure. Heidi, could it be part of what the cats have? No, I double checked on that. Not only we have a vet that's up the road and we have one that comes here when Pig, we call her Pigsy or Peggy, when we did have the vet come. It's not, and they were vaccinated, so everybody's vaccinated. It's just some sort of, they're running something, but no, there is zero connection. The doctor already said there are some things that you would share. There's something in worms and fleas and all that, but they get all the treatments for that. No. What it is George tends to go to a family's house. There's a young grandbaby over there. They pick up easy on stuff. George goes out with his friends, and he's the one that does a lot of the direct to the grocery store stuff where he goes several times a week. And I just think it's something he picked up and brought back. It could have been the last time I was out. So I've been out recently too. So it's hard saying. We were just at Cafe Benny again. So we've been out there twice in 2 weeks. George says you're like a kid. I'm like this. I'm all over touching stuff and I touch everything. I'm like touching, touching, touching. And so he says, you got to stop doing that. And I don't always bring, we usually carry like this stuff here. And this is a big bottle of it, but we have one with a little chain and we do the refills. But we sanitize. We sanitize, like our hands every time I go outside, and I try to, but we don't overdo it so much. It's killing like the bad stuff that's good stuff. And so, but no, we thought that, and we checked on both sides. So don't get to the age of 54 without learning something. And then thank God, worst case scenario, which a lot of people rely on, is Googling something. Unfortunately, although I'm wrong about things and can admit it and don't mind being corrected, I and George tend to have where we know some things, but we're realistic on the things that we know. But if not, then yes. But this time the doctor and the vet confirmed, no, we're just sick. We just old and sick. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. My first 2 months was a lot of seat time in the CR. Yeah, the water and everything. What George doesn't know is I give him regular water all the time out of the tap. I got to build that bitch's immune system. But no, like sometimes when I make coffee and stuff, our thing drains super slow. We have a water filter, but it is boiled. And he's like, okay, well, that was boiled technically. So, but he doesn't like the sediment that could be in there. But you would have to know your city water. Like here, in the area we're in, it seems to be okay. They tend to filter it. And we've been in this house. This will be our fourth Christmas or something. And so far, I've never gotten sick. But I've had food poisoning since I've been here. And that was from different food that George brought into me. But you just can't go brushing your teeth or doing crazy stuff. So, somewhere between the food, the stress of learning the environment, and the water, you'll end up, yeah. So, you're going to have to bring some Loperamide. I've been in the country almost 2 months and probably more than just getting used to the Philippines. I have been sick for weeks, having the symptoms same as when I first arrived here. Yeah. I am in Australia and I can't wait to come back. Everything's controlled and sterile. Everything's so stressed and cold and mean. I hear you. I have been coughing for almost a week. My wife might take me to the medical. The humidity is hell in the lungs. I'm telling you, the best thing I ever did was the dehumidifier. And the problem is you got to be careful. Like the one we have here is kind of heavy duty. It's got a compressor and it kicks in. But like, I don't hang our laundry outside. I wash and I hang it. I've got several racks in the bathroom. The dehumidifier, they're dry within like 2 hours. But it also takes the humidity out here. And we have 2 air filters in the house that pull in all the cat hair, and they're heavy duty too. But it does tend to dry if you leave it on all day. So there's like a balance. And me and George was going to have another channel where we were just going to talk about how to, when to, and all of that. And then I don't know, we're probably just going to add it to these vlogs on things like that. But we talk about the things that we use all the time, but we don't want to be like product placement. And he used to do reviews just to do reviews to, as we were building our numbers. But there are certain things that I think are necessity, and to use from being here. But the dehumidifier was a win-win. I don't know why I didn't get one sooner, because it makes a big difference. And when you have the AC on, I just always felt hot and sticky anyways. Like literally sometimes I was still sweating. I'm like, like that. It was like odd. And I'm like, somebody said, get the dehumidifier. And I'm like, why would I want to do that? George says that that's naturally a dehumidifier. Evidently not, because it was reading 60-70% humidity when we started it. It used to pull about 10, 11 bottles a day until it got it under control. Now that takes a few days to get that, but that's because it's already gone in the house and the house is sealed. So, hey, see you later. Yeah, the Z-Pack. Take it easy, just a bill. Z-Pack antibiotics a must to get if you have bronchitis. Yeah. Well, here's another thing. I've been on steroids for years, and along with other medications that I lose a few pounds, but then I gain a bunch of it. And I've been on Z-Packs on and off throughout it's good to have. I did it a few times in Mexico. You can get a prescription from the general doctor. Yeah. I don't know why it does that. I agree. I have a desktop dehumidifier. It keeps it nice in the tiny home. Yeah, this is a nice one. This one right here was like 7,000 pesos, about 125. But in the U.S., these are like 250. I mean, I don't know, that's probably about 25 inches tall. I don't know, about half as tall as George. But it's heavy duty. And so, and it covers the downstairs, and there's a smaller one in the kitchen. It's got a little tank on it, probably holds 3 bottles of water, but it takes like 2 weeks, 3 weeks for it to, but it's nice to take it out of here. But I'll notice if it's taking too much when the cats will cough on the occasion. And I don't know if they're coughing because of each other or it's time to sweep the floor for the day or something, but I think the dehumidifier is drying their little throats out. So that's how we kind of get a sign. Here in Australia, where we are, the air is dry and not much humidity. It's exact opposite. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to end this stream. I appreciate everybody being here, and thank you for everybody coming into the stream. And if you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe. And I am so glad that everybody can join us in the land of Oz. And until next time, which will be Thursday, and remember, we'll do one, or it'll be me, depends. George will be here on Saturday and Sunday, and that's Philippine time, or that's Friday and Saturday. So, and then it's Tuesday. So it'll be 4 days a week we'll be doing lives. So I appreciate everybody dropping in here. Yeah, it's odd. The last, I don't know, last probably 10 live streams, we only get 50 or 60 people in the room. We're used to seeing higher, but maybe we can find some drama and see if we can kick that number up. Guys, remember, you can contact us at Philippine Antics. I need to put the email in here and tell you guys to send us stories. If it's dealing with an expat, we do get some on the occasion, but we like to know that there's a lesson involved versus just gossiping about them, but we don't mind gossiping either. But send us those stories at PhilippineAntics@gmail. And we've got to get something going here. There's a few things we're wanting to cover, but he worked really hard on that thumbnail. So I'm like, yeah, so let me still cover that. So thank you guys, and we appreciate you being here. Good night, Victoria. Good night, Second Wind. Thank you, Sarah. A shout out to Ted and our moderators, and I will talk to you guys later. Oh, the babies are asleep. I wish you guys could see them. I hope you guys don't get each other sick again. All right, guys.